Most of the supplements on that pharmacy shelf have never been tested on women like you. Not once. I know because I looked up every single study. Last month, I walked into a pharmacy and counted 12 products on the shelf claiming to support brain health and memory. Lion's mane, Bacopa, Turmeric, omega-3. One product had all 5 in one single capsule. Plus, a small asterisk at the bottom. These statements have not been evaluated by any regulatory authority. I picked up the Lion's Mane. I looked for the study it was based on. There wasn't one. The brand's website referenced a study in mice. By the way, marketing got me too. I took Ashwagandha for months. I stopped because I couldn't feel anything. Maybe others do. I honestly don't know. But wanting something to work and it working are two different things. And for the most of these supplements, the research in women like us just isn't there yet. I will go through what the clinical trial evidence looks like, what has been tested in perimenopausal and postmenopausal women, what held up, and what's a hopeful extrapolation. After watching this video, you will be able to evaluate which supplements are hype and which ones are helpful. Before we get into any specific supplement, there's one question you should ask about every single supplement. Who exactly was this tested on? Just think, a study in healthy 25-year-old men might not apply to a 40-year-old woman whose brain is running on fraction of its previous estrogen. Also, a study in elderly adults with mild cognitive impairment is not evidence for perimenopause brain fog, which has a different underlying mechanism. Clinically studied on the label means almost nothing if we don't know who the subjects were. Perimenopause brain fog isn't one thing, it's 3. The brain's glucose supply becomes less reliable. Neurons run on glucose the way your laptop runs on battery, and estrogen keeps it plugged in. The brain cells or neurons themselves become less efficient at producing energy on demand. And finally, the blood flow to the brain becomes less responsive to demand. So when you ask your brain to work hard, the supply doesn't follow as fast as it used to. So a supplement that doesn't touch any of these mechanisms, regardless of how many people it was tested on, probably isn't doing much for you. So the questions we need to ask: first, was it tested in perimenopausal or postmenopausal women? Second, was cognition measured, not just hot flashes or bone density? Third, was it a randomized controlled clinical trial? Most supplements on that pharmacy shelf can't answer yes to any of these questions. There is just not enough research done to back most of the claims you see. Let's go through the most popular supplements one by one. Lion's mane. The mechanism is genuinely interesting. Lion's mane stimulates nerve growth factor, which supports neuron health and connectivity. Lion's mane is marketed as brain and mood enhancer or smart mushroom. You will see such claims as improves memory, focus, and concentration, reduces brain fog, enhances mental clarity and creativity, and even supports long-term brain health. But the human trial evidence, though, is inconsistent. The most recent randomized clinical trial in healthy young adults found psychomotor speed improved slightly, but executive function actually got worse on standardized tests. No randomized clinical trial has ever been conducted in perimenopausal or postmenopausal women. The neurogenesis mechanism is worth watching as research develops, but the current evidence doesn't support spending money on it for perimenopause brain fog specifically. Bacopa Monnieri is marketed as a memory and calm focus herb, with promises that often go well beyond any data we have. You see companies promote the supplement as sharpens focus and mental clarity, or boosts BDNF and neurogenesis. Sounds very scientific, doesn't it? Some evidence from in vitro and animal work suggests that the herb might act as an antioxidant and maybe could modulate neurotransmitters and increase in BDNF. There is modest evidence in mixed older adults for processing speed and some memory measures. There are no randomized clinical trials in menopausal women at all. One study combined Bacopa with cognitive training and found the supplement added nothing beyond the training alone. Ashwagandha. Ashwagandha acts as an adaptogen and seems to work by helping your stress system calm down by possibly supporting GABA and serotonin neurotransmitters, as well as boosting immunity. Ashwagandha is marketed as an all-purpose cure for stress, sleep, and hormones. The claims include supports cognitive performance, supports healthy cortisol and testosterone balance, and my personal favorite, natural Xanax. As I said, ashwagandha promises got me personally as well. The stress and cortisol angle is truly quite appealing, and the stress reduction effect could be reasonable. That's personally why I took. There are no randomized clinical trials for perimenopause brain fog specifically. When I took it, I personally didn't notice anything, and that's why I personally stopped. However, some women swear by it. I can't explain that with the current data. It could work for stress, but no evidence for the brain fog specific. Let's look at turmeric. Turmeric, or standard curcumin, doesn't have one clean mechanism of action. It might help calm inflammation, support how your body handles oxidative stress, and influence key cell signaling pathways. So naturally, the supplement can be marketed for many things, such as powerful natural anti-inflammatory supplement or protecting against neurodegeneration. This particular supplement is a very good example of how supplement research gets distorted. The one randomized clinical trial in postmenopausal women measured cognitive function when taking turmeric for 12 weeks, and it found no cognitive changes. No change in processing speed, executive function, working memory, or episodic memory. Studies showing that curcumin works for cognition actually exists, but they use different formulations than the one that I just told you about, tested in postmenopausal women. And by the way, with curcumin, that matters enormously. The only postmenopausal trial used 2,000 milligrams a day. A separate trial in older adults of mixed genders used just 90 milligrams twice a day. A fraction of the dose, but in a form specifically engineered for absorption. That lower dose version showed cognitive improvements, surprisingly. So it's the same molecule, very different result. Biologically, your body barely absorbs standard curcumin. Depending on the formulation, how much actually gets into your bloodstream can vary up to 50-fold between products. Whether the better absorbed version would work in perimenopausal or postmenopausal women, we're not sure because nobody has tested it yet. Omega-3s, especially EPA and DHA, work in a few connected ways. They support the structure of your cell membranes, even neurons, and fight inflammation in different ways. Well, the problem with marketing statements is that they claim stronger disease and performance benefits than what trials support. The animal research on omega-3 and the brain is very exciting. Mice that had their ovaries removed, it's like surgical menopause in humans, showed restored memory and less brain inflammation. But animal studies are animal studies. The human data tells a different story. I take omega-3 too, but for my heart and also for my brain in a way. Better cardiovascular health means better blood flow to the brain, which affects my cognition. It's an indirect effect. What isn't supported is the direct claim that omega-3 improves perimenopause brain fog directly. The largest study in postmenopausal women measured actual omega-3 status in the blood in over 2,000 women and tracked cognitive function over time. That study didn't find any significant benefits. There is an interesting, very small study in 27 postmenopausal women. They use a combination supplement, omega-3 plus B12 plus several other supplements. But this way, we don't know what the omega-3 is doing by itself. Black Cohosh doesn't have one clear, proven way it works for brain fog. But what we know is that it seems to act on serotonin and opioid signaling in the brain, and maybe affects how neurons handle energy and oxidative stress. Black Cohosh is marketed almost entirely as a natural menopause solution, whatever that means. Some products add promotes better sleep or helps with concentration and memory, implying benefits for brain fog, despite very limited direct cognitive data. One randomized clinical trial in postmenopausal women measured cognitive function when taking Black Cohosh. They didn't find any effects on brain fog versus placebo. It could help for hot flashes, but that's a different topic. It's not about brain fog. And I'm happy to cover that story in another video. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to look at supplements and other menopausal symptoms. Finally, soy isoflavones don't work like stimulants that give you a quick boost. Instead, they seem to act more like gentle estrogen in the brain, especially in areas involved in memory and thinking, like the hippocampus or frontal cortex. They also might support how neurons handle energy and protect against stress. You will see promises that soy isoflavones will improve mental clarity and help reduce brain fog in menopause. But let me tell you, the picture here is quite messy. Meta-analysis of small trials look positive. Meta-analysis is the analysis of pooled different studies' data together. But the two largest randomized clinical trials, both in postmenopausal women, both large enough, found no significant effect of soy isoflavones on cognition. Small studies look positive, large studies show no effect. And scientists have a name for this pattern: small study bias, and it tells you the large trials should carry more weight. Before we go further, if you're finding this useful, subscribe to the channel. New videos every Tuesday. Every week, one topic, one video, peer-reviewed research that actually explains what is happening to you during perimenopause. Now we get to a category that's a little different. The two supplements we'll look at actually have decent evidence behind them, but only for women whose blood work shows they need them. If you don't, you're either wasting your money or, in one case, making things worse. Vitamin D isn't just a vitamin. In its active form, it acts more like a hormone. It helps regulate calcium and phosphate, which matter for bone health. But it also supports muscle function, the immune system, and how the brain works. Vitamin D supplements are commonly marketed as a simple fix for brain fog, promising clearer thinking, better memory, and elevated mood. A 2024 study looked at vitamin D levels in almost 300 perimenopausal and postmenopausal women. 91% of them didn't have enough. That is not a small number. That's almost everyone. When scientists gave postmenopausal women 2,000 international units of vitamin D per day in a randomized clinical trial, learning and memory improved. But the part that surprised me, when they gave 4,000 international units per day, twice the dose than what we just said before, reaction time actually got worse. So more is not better in this case. The benefit is specifically about correcting a deficiency, not pushing your levels much higher than what they need to be. A large long-term study from the Women's Health Initiative, that's actually a very big and long study in the USA, found no benefit of vitamin D supplementation for cognitive decline overall. I suggest getting your vitamin D tested before you take it. I personally take it religiously during winter and fall, and I give it to my kids. We live in the northern part of Europe, we don't get enough sun, and our blood work proves it. B vitamin supplements are heavily marketed as a direct fix for brain fog. Brands frequently state that their supplement improves focus and concentration or slows cognitive decline. B vitamins support how your body makes and uses energy, as well as help with key chemical processes in the brain. B vitamins and cognition have a complicated relationship, and the key to understanding it is one word: homocysteine. Homocysteine is an amino acid that builds up in the blood when B vitamins are low. High homocysteine is neurotoxic. It can damage blood vessels in the brain over time. A good quality randomized clinical trial published in The Lancet found that folic acid, that's your B9 vitamin, brought homocysteine down and improved memory in people who had elevated levels to begin with. But a meta-analysis that pooled over 22,000 people across 12 trials found no benefit for the broader group of people whose homocysteine was already normal. So B vitamins help when there's a specific problem to fix, not as a general brain boost. When researchers measured B12 levels specifically in perimenopausal and postmenopausal women, 96% were in the normal range. So most of us are not deficient. Unless your labs show elevated homocysteine or confirmed B12 deficiency, adding B vitamins is unlikely to improve your brain fog. But it's worth checking, especially if you're eating mostly plant-based diet. So everything I've covered so far either has no evidence, weak evidence, or conditional evidence. But 2 supplements have actual randomized clinical trial data in perimenopausal or postmenopausal women with cognitive outcomes measured directly. Just 2 out of this entire industry. The supplement and longevity industry frames Resveratrol as a cornerstone anti-aging supplement. It's marketed as a longevity molecule that fights aging, protects the heart and the brain. There is some truth to the claims, but as always, not to the extent that science can prove. Resveratrol doesn't work through just one clear pathway. It acts in a few different ways, mainly by supporting the cell's energy and stress response systems, helping reduce inflammation and oxidative stress, and influence how cells function and survive. I don't know if, have you ever heard of David Sinclair talk about sirtuin as a longevity gene? And that resveratrol can influence that genetic SIRT1 pathway? Well, let's see. Trans resveratrol at 150 milligrams per day has been tested in 4 randomized clinical trials, all conducted in postmenopausal women, all measuring cognition directly. The studies ran anywhere from 14 weeks to 24 months. They found that overall cognitive performance improved consistently across the trials. Verbal memory, which is the ability to hold onto and recall information, improved in some trials. But when researchers pooled the results together, it wasn't a significant finding across the board. So the honest version is global cognition improves reliably. Verbal memory may have improved depending on the individual. In one clinical trial, resveratrol improved how well the brain could send extra blood when it actually needed it by about 17%. It could matter to the perimenopausal brain because it struggles to increase blood flow when you're actively thinking, concentrating, or under load. One 2-year study showed about a 33% improvement in cognitive performance with resveratrol. Women over 65 benefited the most, particularly in verbal memory. So why does it work? Resveratrol acts like a weak estrogen in blood vessels. It increases nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is basically the message your blood vessels receive that says, relax, open up, let more blood through. So resveratrol is addressing the blood flow problem that dropping estrogen creates in the brain. Of everything I reviewed, Resveratrol at 150 milligrams per day has the most consistent clinical trial evidence in postmenopausal women that we currently have. However, not directly in perimenopausal women, and that's a shame. The second supplement that has clinical trial data is, drumroll, creatine. I know, most likely not what you expected. This is the supplement bodybuilders put in their protein shakes. It's been marketed as a foundational supplement for muscle growth, muscle performance, and recovery. But creatine isn't just for muscles. Your brain uses it too, and quite a lot of it. Bear with me for a moment, because the biology here is fascinating. Your brain is the most energy-hungry organ in your body. It runs on a fuel called ATP, and neurons burn through it very fast, especially during demanding moments like a complex decision or high-stakes meeting. The problem is that making ATP from scratch takes time. So the brain keeps an emergency reserve of something called phosphocreatine. Think of it as backup battery that can recharge ATP in milliseconds, faster than any other system in the body. Creatine is what that backup battery is made from. Estrogen helps maintain that reserve. When estrogen withdraws during perimenopause, the reserve shrinks. And here's the part that makes this particularly relevant for women. We already start with 20 to 30% lower creatine stores than men. Perimenopause likely affects creatine metabolism. Creatine supplementation can help with your cognitive function in addition to many other benefits. A 2025 randomized clinical trial tested 36 perimenopausal and menopausal women, average age of 50. One of the groups took 1.5 grams of creatine hydrochloride per day for 8 weeks. Reaction time improved in the creatine group. They also saw that the brain creatine increased by 16.4%. There are other studies that show creatine helps women improve their memory, attention time, and processing speed. Unfortunately, the perimenopause randomized clinical trial only had 36 participants, so it needs replication before we can be fully confident. Before you order anything, there's one thing I want to mention that never shows up in supplement marketing, but probably should come first. A 2025 study from the University of Oklahoma looked at something nobody had really checked before: iron levels and cognitive function in perimenopausal women who were perfectly normal by standard medical measures. Not anemic. Their labs looked absolutely fine. Women with lower iron status within normal range still perform worse on attention and memory. Perimenopausal women often have heavy or irregular periods that can drain iron stores. Your ferritin, that's a stored form of iron, can drop significantly while your standard blood count looks completely fine. You should test ferritin specifically. We don't yet have a randomized clinical trial of iron supplementation for perimenopause brain fog, only observational study. But it's pointing at something that's very easy to check. I would check ferritin before you spend money on supplements. So where does that leave us practically? Start with blood work before anything else. Check your ferritin, vitamin D, and homocysteine. If your labs look fine and you want to try something with actual evidence in perimenopausal women, you might want to consider resveratrol at about 150 milligrams per day and creatine hydrochloride at least 1.5 grams per day. For everything else, lion's mane, Bacopa, Ashwagandha, standard curcumin, we still need more research. Oxford University has a probiotic trial specifically in perimenopausal women underway right now. And we expect results in 2028. Better absorbed curcumin formulations are being tested as well. This field is moving very fast, and I'll cover new trials as they come out. So that's the honest picture right now. 2 supplements with real evidence for brain fog in perimenopausal and postmenopausal women. A few worth watching, and a long list of supplements that the industry is selling with confidence without much scientific backing. If this helped explain what you've been experiencing, like the video. Subscribe because I'm covering new perimenopause brain topic every single week. And share this with any woman who's been made to feel like her cognitive symptoms aren't real or don't matter.